Pop culture is more than just entertainment. It's a lens into society, relationships, and human behavior. I'm Grace, and here on the Grace Report, we dive into stories beyond the headlines. Whether it's reality TV drama, celebrity scandals, or royal family intrigue, I'm here to break it all down. What it means, why it matters, and how it reflects the world we live in. Join the conversation, share your take, and let's make sense of the culture shaping our lives one story at a time. Good morning, sunshine. So sorry I'm late. Listen, y'all, I was away for the whole weekend. I went to the south of Paris and I just got back super late last night, verging on this morning. So I'm a little bit behind. And then today I went to the lab to get a blood test done. So voila. But thanks so much for hanging in there. We've got lots to talk about in today's episode of the Morning Report, per usual. As some of you lovely ladies have pointed out in the live chat, it is a very teen mom heavy episode of the show. So buckle up for all the stuff that we're going to talk about in regards to that, okay? But in the meantime, let's see who we've got joining here for today's episode of the show. We've got Gala, Cami, Carly. Carly's got a new photo today. Carly, I am loving the selfie. So beautiful. So nice to see you. She says she's going to be watching from the bushes though, but I'm happy that you stopped by to let us know that you're here. And shout out to the rest of the Bush squad. We love you guys too. Good morning, Kahara, Gwen, OMG, Lynn, Lokba, Venetia, Ronnie, Stephanie, Venetia, Ronnie, Ali, Ramster, Kristen, Jenny. Oh my God, Jasmine's here as well. Ash and Emmy, Laura. So nice to have y'all here. Why don't we get into today's story? And by the way, you guys, I'm not yet sure. However, I do think I'm going to need to take a little bit of a break from the Morning Report next week just to take a look at some of the other stories that I need to catch up on. I'm behind on some, show recaps and whatnot, and I need to take a look at some of the analytics. So I'll keep you guys posted, but I might take just the first half of next week off, so up until Wednesday or something else, okay? I'll keep you posted. Sorry about that, you guys. Hey, Kasia, Dalmatian Lady, Latasha, OMG, Trip, Sunshine. So nice to all see you. Susan, Kate. So the first story that we've got on our agenda for today's episode of the show, we got to talk about Kail Lowry. Do you remember how Kail Lowry announced on her podcast at some point last week or the week before that she was going to be getting her neck chopped off because she's sick and tired of having a double chin? According to Kail, double chins run in her family. And so the only way for her to get hers under control is to go and have it surgically removed. And this was in a very kind of disturbing episode of the Coffee Convos podcast, because listen, her going to get a neck lift, neck chop off, whatever you want to call it, it's one thing. She's a grown woman with grown woman coins who could do whatever she wants. However, in this particular episode of the show, she was talking about how the doctor told her that the operation that she was doing for her neck situation would only last about 20 years in terms of the results before she would need to potentially do it over again. And Kail says, right, as she's got a bunch of toddlers at home, well, that's fine because I was actually hoping to croak in 20 years. And then Lindsay, her podcast co-host, says, Kail, what do you mean you're hoping to die in 20 years? Don't you have little kids at home? Aren't some of your children even 1 year old or something like that? Wouldn't they only be 20 years old in 20 years? And then Kail says, well, it doesn't matter because I'm worth more to them dead than alive. And then not only that, but she goes on to talk about how she really hopes that her daughter isn't built like her. And she says that people are starting to point out to her that her daughter is big boned like her, quote unquote. Right. And then she kind of points out the fact that her daughter, according to her, is bow-legged. It turned into oh, this is what I'm going to do. I don't like the way I look. Oh, my God, my daughter's starting to look like me. Look at all these flaws. It was a very, very weird episode of the show. And the kind of flippant way of saying that you hope you croak when you've got a bunch of little kids and you're talking about wanting to have more. It is so strange, right? So anyway, that is me setting the stage for you guys in regards to this particular story. So now fast forward to Kail Lowry showing us some photos from her getting marked up for the operation. So these are some of the markings that the doctor put on her face prior to putting her under anesthesia. right? And so, a lot of people are wondering if that's all she had done, the whole neck double chin situation, because people are saying, wait a minute, the markings that the doctor put on her go all the way up to like her temple almost. Are we sure she's not getting a facelift? Like, is this not just like a little neck tightening, or is this a full-blown facelift, right? So that's what you see in the comment section. A lot of people kind of debating over that. I personally do not know. I went online to look up the markings of facelift and whatnot, and they kind of vary. I looked at the markings of a neck lift, and it is true that they typically end here. But again, that kind of varies as well. So I really do not know. Are any of you guys in the medical field, especially in plastics? What do you think about the way that Kail's face has been marked up? What is this indicative of? So I'm seeing some comments coming in. We've got Ash and Emmy who says that this looks like a facelift. Ali says this is a jump scare that should be censored. We've got Shauna who says that it is a facelift as well. And Laura, just you wait, boo. We're going to get into that. I do think that, they had a little bit of a hookup. I think at least the tip went in. But we're going to get into that later. That's another story that we've got. So there was another photo that Kail released in her kind of carousel of her, quote unquote, saying goodbye to the double chin. I will say, though, in this one particular photo, if I didn't know any better, I would think that this was kind of like an elderly woman, right? So I don't know, like if she feels like she needs to snatch it up, maybe she'll just go ahead and snatch it up. At the end of the day, it is her coin. But it is sad that, she's in this place at such a young age. She's only 33 years old, right? But I do think that when you are paralyzing your facial muscles for the past decade or so, and then plumping your face with filler and whatnot, these things can cause you to age at an unnatural rate. And that could be what we're seeing in her right here, right? Because people always say Botox is preventative. I do think it is to an extent, but at the same time, when you paralyze a muscle so much, it can sag also, right? And then fillers, when you get tired of those, what happens when they dissolve and you're not plumping them up? Or maybe when you dissolve them, mechanically, you have all this space that was previously stretched out that has nowhere to go but down. So these could be the things that have caused her issues, right? So I really don't exactly know what exactly it is that Kail has had done. However, she said it's about to be game over for us all as soon as she has fully healed. And so I did see a really interesting comment here. I'm trying to find it again. So sorry about that. Sometimes that does happen, you guys, where I do see comments and I want to talk about them and call out to them, but then I lose them. But here it is. This is Steph. Stephanie says some facial lipo too. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if she went and got some facial contouring, by way of liposuction. Maybe she's even going to get some fat transfers to certain areas, right? I think she likes to fill her cheeks. So why not take some of this extra fat that you don't need and put it in your cheeks, right? Or maybe even fill it in your temple. That's what a lot of people like to do these days. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if that was something that she was looking into doing, right? It's kind of like naturally like contouring yourself so that you don't have to do the whole contour makeup anymore or something like that, right? Jasmine says maybe it's threading like Lisa Barlow from The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Lisa Barlow, I still can't get over her gout deep sucker comment. That was insane. Maybe it's that, but facial threading looks so painful. Do they need to map it out though? I don't know, but that stuff looks painful. It looks gruesome, absolutely gruesome, you guys. Wow. I still do not understand the popularity of that stuff, but I do digress. Bree says, yeah, but she's been pregnant the past decade. She can't do Botox pregnant. But she does talk quite a bit about Dysport and stuff like that. I do remember her talking about it relatively, recently on the podcast. She did say that due to breastfeeding and whatnot, she had to stop for a while. But in between these pregnancies, she is getting that stuff done. Acacia says, Kail, love yourself. And I agree, right? Hey, Hamlet. Hamlet says, oh my God, I am... And then it cuts off. Bree says the threads ruin your face. I think so too. Like, don't they lead to certain rippling? Sometimes you see people who get that they do the rippling here, especially. Cammy says it sounds like she doesn't want to be a mom anymore because she thinks her kids would be better off with her. DEAD. Well, that's what it kind of sounds like. It sounds like she's going through depression again, right? And maybe she doesn't know it yet, or maybe she's in denial about it. But, that episode of the show was extremely disturbing in my humble opinion. So amidst all of these photos that Kail shared of herself being marked up for the procedure, she did also share a photograph of one of her children with Elijah being held up by Elijah. I believe this is Rio. And, I just wanted to point that out to you guys. It seems as though maybe they're on good terms at this present moment in their lives, which is good, right? For the children involved. Obviously, I do not believe they're back together. Kail is rumored to be with a new man, a man who has a certain affinity for fishing. But it's nice to see that these two are on good terms and able to hang out with the kids together. But here's something that's a little bit interesting to me. Does the roof or the ceiling of this room that Elijah's in kind of look like it could be the ceiling of like a medical place? So then it kind of makes me wonder, was Elijah there to kind of like watch the kids or something? I don't know. Like, and is that not like medical equipment behind him? Was he there? Do you think that there might secretly be something going on between these two? Like, I don't know about a romantic reconciliation, because again, I don't believe that Kail was ever truly in love with this person. However, the ceiling and the devices behind him are giving medical office, right? So I don't know, you guys. I'm just putting up the other pictures back again so that I could look a little bit closer and see if any of the equipment matches, what was next to Elijah in his particular photo. So, I'm seeing some medical equipment here, but it's not the same ones. But I'm seeing the same kind of gray, cabinetry, etc., that you see in Elijah's photo. So I do now, and this is just something that I'm thinking about now, looking at it over and discussing it with you guys. But I am currently of the belief that Elijah was there somewhere. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about that? Let me know in the live chat. I'm just taking a closer look, you guys. Something's off. But at the same time, why would you bring kids with you to the hospital or wherever this is to get, plastic surgery, especially if you got a father, who's able to watch over them? Why would you do that? Maybe it's a different medical office that he was in with the kid, but something about that kind of just pinged the radar for me. I'm going to take a look at what you guys have to say in the live chat. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what y'all have to say about that. Some of you, it looks like some of you do think that there was an Elijah appearance at the hospital. We've got Kristen who says Chris was on live the other day saying she already moved her new guy into the house. So it's official. Listen, I think that's the guy that she might have bought the Jeep for. There's a guy that Chris says has been tailing him or stalking him or something like that. She says that that's her new man. And, we suspect that that man, his Jeep that he rolls around in was purchased by Kail. Diane says, I believe bow legs could be fixed when a child is very young. If I'm right, she may not have had it done, as so many babies take care of, not meant to be judgmental. Yeah, exactly. Like, I think it's very natural for kids to be bow-legged, right? They're learning to walk and they just kind of like wobble around like that naturally. And then typically it shapes itself out, right? Good morning, Shonda. Nice to see you. Ronnie says, that's creepy, looking at all the lines on her face. Honestly, the whole thing is just so nerve-wracking. Laura says, she can't have any guy without bringing them around for plastic surgeries, right? Come with me to the clinic or the hospital so I know it's real. Steph says, Elijah and Kail are in too deep to completely cut ties. They're still using one another. And I do think that that is the case as well. Like, that guy really has always been the primary parent for the children that they have together. And he's also been a great help to the 4 older ones that Kail has. So, I do think that there is a certain reason why, even though he cheated on her and she was never truly, from what we've heard on the podcasts, in love with him, there's a reason why she keeps him around nonetheless. Hey, Ashley, better late than never. Indeed, I overslept, but went to see the Backstreet Boys last night. So much fun. Wow, I'm glad you had a great concert. Nice. What's your favorite Backstreet Boys song? I'm trying to remember. Is that You Are My? I still remember the episode they did on Arthur. That was groundbreaking to me. Absolutely amazing. Susan said it could be a different office. Yeah, it very well could be, right? But it's just so interesting that, that's the picture that she used. It got my tin foil hat going. Deshauna says that looks like an old photo from a doctor's appointment with Rio, right? Something medical going on, but probably not the same location, because it really truly does not make sense to bring the child to the hospital for you just getting plastic surgery. That's just weird. And I don't think that Kail is that kind of weird. Bree says Kailin probably had them there. Right? I don't know, you guys. Very, very interesting. Now, you guys, why don't we get into our next story of the day? We got Elijah and not Elijah's story. We've got Javi Lauren and his long-suffering wife, Lauren, expecting baby number 3. They made this announcement over on Instagram, and you know what? Go ahead. Go ahead, y'all. Let's see the caption that Javi used to announce the big news. He said, and I quote, "The best honeymoon souvenir. So grateful to be doing this again with you, Mama. You're the strongest woman I know, and we are beyond lucky. Love you more each day." I don't know, calling her strong after all you did to make her strong, that relentless cheating is wild to me. But I digress, y'all. Listen. Congratulations to the two of them, on their marriage and expecting baby number 3. It's Monday. My day is off to a great start. I'm trying to stay out of hell, so I'm not going to say too much. Like Winnie the Cat says, I hope she has a safe and happy pregnancy. And I hope everything works out between the two of them. They seem to be very happy in Virginia Beach. And mind you, some of the photos that Kail posted in her carousel were in Virginia Beach. So she brought the boys to hang out with Lincoln over there, which I thought was really lovely that they were able to go ahead and do that and to, make the arrangements for that. Rebecca says, I feel like saying she's strong is a jab after how he did. Well, that's what I felt like too. It's always like, the men cheating on you or treating you like garbage who go, oh, you're so strong, or, all the ups and downs. What are the ups and downs? Let's be specific, right? Laura says, wonder who else he's seeing in their downstairs rooms while she's sleeping. Laura, I just said, I'm trying to stay out of trouble. I would always be paranoid, at this point in this relationship. I just would not be able to do it. I thought what she was going to do was just, stick it out for Eli, like, how old is he? Like 8 years old or something like that. Like, oh God, cheater. And yeah, stick it out for Eli and then ditch him eventually. But then, to kind of have another kid and then another kid with him after all this is kind of wild to me, but I digress. When he says, sorry for the misspelling. Well, no worries, girl. Listen, we got you loud and clear, boo. Keith says, Virginia Beach is so whack. Really? From someone who lives in Virginia Beach? Really? Well, I don't know anything about Virginia Beach. They look happy. What's the tea on Virginia Beach? Why is it whack? Alexa said, I couldn't even locate it on a map, to be honest with you. Yeah, I couldn't. Alexa says, cannot believe she married him. Girl, you and me both. Eliana says, I love seeing Javi and Lauren together. Despite everything that has happened between them, they still got through it. That's the thing, though. Like, if they were both doing each other dirty, yeah, everything that happened between them. But the only things that has happened between them is this man doing her dirty and cheating on her left, right, and center. It's like, I don't know. I don't know. Steph says, I guess Lauren didn't learn her lesson. Staying married is one thing, but getting pregnant, that's what I thought, but listen. Actually, no, don't listen to me. I'm trying to be nice today. So I'm just going to read you guys' comments. Lakma says, thank you for giving me something to listen to while I do my morning. Oh, you're doing the farm chores. I love that. Of course. Look, I hope you're having a great day over there on the farm. I love that. Tyrell says, I'm late, not sure where we are, but Briana, oh yes, don't you worry. That's our next story, Tyrell. So I'm going to go ahead and bookmark your comment. By the way, we're getting word that Virginia Beach maybe is not that bad. Kate Latoya says Virginia Beach is a great place to raise kids. Oh my God, there's going to be Virginia beef in the live chat. Look, you love that. So let me go ahead and see what some of you guys are saying in the live chat, right? So I did get this comment earlier from Laura that I promised to bookmark to bring up when we get to the story. So here we are. She said, how did you not know, Briana? Oh, no, wait. I'm getting ahead of myself. It was not this story. And yes, Ramster's asking me about the blood test. Yes, I'm all right. You know what I like to do every year, or I like to get a blood test just to see how my vitamin levels and everything is going. So yeah, that's what I went to get done this afternoon. And then I get to have my results on Thursday. So I'm really excited about that. But yeah, thanks for asking. Now, you guys, listen, I have to bite my tongue on this story. And let me tell you why. Come in closer because I don't want to say it too loud and blow up my spot. Listen. Actually, no. Actually, yeah. Listen, read between the lines, okay? I have to play nice. That's all I'm going to say about this. I have to play nice if I'm going to keep, right? So let's get into our next story then while we can, okay? So we've got Briana and Chris Lopez. So first of all, Briana, girl, why are you sitting there on your Snapchat just eating, smacking, chewing, just everything. It's so freaking disgusting in people's faces. It's disgusting. I have to tell you guys that before I even put on the video. It's truly disgusting. I don't know when it became normal to like sit around eating on camera, but like this video grosses me out so bad. So basically, somebody left a comment on Briana's Snapchat and it said something to the effect of, oh, Chris Lopez, like he wanted to get with you, but you turned him down. And so Briana is responding to that in the video I'm about to show you. So take a look and then we're going to discuss it on the flip side. So if you're enjoying, so if you're watching me live, let me know what you think in the live chat. That includes you, Bush Squad. Put down whatever you're doing, please, and let us know in the live chat. Just kidding. Or if you're watching the playback, let us know in the comment section, okay? So this is Briana reacting to news that Chris Lopez might want that old thing back.
He said that? That's crazy because that's crazy. Also, that's crazy that he said that because that's not true at all. But Chris knows where to find me. Chris knows exactly where to find me. Oh my God.
So there you go. She says, Chris knows where to find me, AKA I am open for business, AKA come fold me like a pretzel, fold me like a folding chair. Like she is ready, to let this man hit it. Right. And it's disgusting, Kristen. I'm telling you, I do not and I had to like tap through so many, like she had like 20 slides of this, of her just sitting there eating whatever the hell that was. And it was so freaking gross. And I don't get it either, Winnie. Like, it's so weird. Like, okay, maybe it was funny at first, but then when you like went from one to the other, who was like Javi, then you did it with Chris again, it's also weird. And it's becoming like your reputation. And it's not a good reputation that that you should want to have, right? So yeah, somebody asked me earlier, and I think it was you, Laura, right? Thanks, Stephanie. Listen, I do it for you guys. I have to play nice for you guys. I would love to go in, but I have to play nice for you guys and the sake of the tea. So Laura had asked earlier, she said, how did you not know Briana and Chris weren't together? I knew they weren't. Well, listen, I knew they weren't together like a couple, but I seriously do believe that they slept together. What about you guys? Let me know in the live chat, or if you're watching later, let me know in the comment section. Do you think that Briana Dejesus and Chris Lopez hooked up? Because don't forget, during that episode of the show, they're filming this podcast episode, right? And then afterwards, the next day, she's wearing his t-shirt. To me, if a man gives you his t-shirt that he was wearing previously, it's because you slept over at his place. Maybe you didn't have pajamas or something, and then he gave you that to sleep in, right? So, and she really wanted it to be known. And then she broke the touch barrier with him. Do you guys remember? The thigh meat never lies. Like she was trying to like look over at something, and then here, let me hold up my thigh meat just so you guys get an idea of this. Oh, God. So here it is. That's my kneecap, but you guys get the idea. So like she's trying to look over at something. And so she just like would put her arm on his thigh meat, like, oh, like that over there. And she really didn't need to do that because the thing wasn't even that far enough away that she needed to lean like that. She just wanted to let us know, between wearing that man's shirt and feeling comfortable enough to be touching all up on him, that they got naked together the night before, right? And one thing about Bray, and this is, listen, no problem, right? Like if she feels like you're attractive and she like, has the hots for you, she's going to put it down, right? Whatever, have at it. So I really, truly believe that that's what happened, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys have to say in the live chat. I did just want to get to Tyrell's comment first. Tyrell said, I'm late and not sure where we are, but Briana again, wanting Chris again. She is, not the backdoor hoe. She pretends to be all good, but likes to wait for people's leftovers. And that's the thing. You don't want to have that leftover reputation. Whatever, go hook up with who you want to, right? But then when it comes to constantly going after this one girl's like, exes or whatever, like it's weird, especially when this girl is supposed to be your arch nemesis. That's weird. That's weird, right? Ronnie says they hooked up. Oh, they hooked up, right? Aliana says, why is Brie obsessed with Kail? That's the thing. This girl is supposed to be your enemy. Like, anything to do with her, you're supposed to avoid. Like, she doesn't know how to have an enemy. Like, what is this? Dalmatia says she flirts out loud. It's way too obvious. Exactly. For her to be like, Chris knows where to find me. I feel like she's got a lot of tea that she wants to spill. She wants to tell us everything about it. She wants to, like, spill the tea, how it was, like, was it good, all that stuff. But she doesn't want to. But listen, I do think that it must have been at least somewhat good for her to be on Snapchat saying he knows where to find me. Right? Steph says, it's funny because I watched Bree snap the other day and she said she gets most of her t-shirts are from her ex-boyfriends. And now, there you go. She does it on purpose to mark her territory, to show that they go together or something. Laura says, yep, thunder happened. They definitely hooked up. Yep, they absolutely freaking did. Gwen's back. Nice to see you, boo. Happy Monday. Alexa says, I think Briana doesn't have standards. I agree. Listen, she effed Louis without a condom in a club bathroom. She's got no standards. I don't think she had the hots for Louis. I think she said she was very drunk and got pregnant that night with Stella. Listen, all these girls are such terrible, terrible examples of such irresponsible intercourse. Truly, do not be raw dogging people, especially people you do not know. Especially not in club bathrooms, especially not in strip mall parking lots, especially not, I don't know, like in your shared backyard because it's your neighbor. You have to go get tested. You have to wrap it up. Like, do not move like these girls move. Aliana says, and when she gets confronted, she makes sure she has her family to have her back. Oh, I will never forget the way that she was so freaking scared and shook when Kail was following her around like a freaking hood rat, demanding a fight. She was like, this is so stupid, Kail. Don't do this, And then as soon as her sister comes, what is it? Oh, and that's what I thought, I was about to whoop your ass. And then they're on stage and now you have security. You got all these people between you. So there's going to be no fighting. And on top of that, her sister's right next to Kail, like to go get her if need be. Here comes Briana with her stupid chancla talking about, all that fighting, all that stuff you were talking before. Now you want to play cute on TV. Shut up. What did I say about her? I said she would not bust a grape in a food fight. She is scaredy cat, unless she has her family there to back her up. And it's so lame. If you're a scaredy cat, just be a scaredy cat. Like, just always, but like to act tough like that when you've got, your pit bull sister next to you, please. Shayna says, I remember the thigh meat touch. That told me what I needed to know too. Exactly. Listen, if I'm ever touching up on your thigh meat, that means something, means some things. Felicia says, disgusting. Too many diseases out here. Yes, should wear. Exactly. They really needed to be more serious about that messaging. The pregnancy is the least of their worries. It's a big worry, but there's a lot more things that these girls have been exposed to and have probably contracted due to their terribly, terribly irresponsible and reckless actual habits. Becky says Briana was looking for anyone to knock her up to get back on the TV when she found Louis. There's so many like dumb corporate guys who would like hit it raw and shoot up your club, right? Why did you have to go and find this like kind of unemployed man? Like, come on, right? And she also got an STD from Louis. I keep pronouncing it like that because I'm watching Too Hot to Handle and the guy's name is Louis and it's spelled the same way. Anyway, and to me, Lewis is Lewis, but I digress. What was I talking about? Yeah, I forgot. So anyway, it's just very, very irresponsible. And I think that they should have had more serious kind of warnings against it. Like they should have had, doctors coming in, like, medical doctors talking about like the STD rates and all that, how it's going and whatnot. Like, it's crazy, you guys. Wow. Dawn is heading to Berlin. Have a great time. Oh my goodness gracious. And London as well. Have a safe trip, Dawn. Party hard and come back and let us know how it went, please. And now I remember what I was talking about. I was talking about the STD that Tyrell was talking about that Briana got from Lewis. Yeah, that's what happens when you're, raw dogging strangers, right? And then Kail got one from somebody else and then she passed it on to Joe. Like it was this whole thing. It happens in the blink of an eye, people. Like you really do not know if someone is infected or not. It's not something you can tell just by looking at them or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, be careful out there. Please, 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 please. And Gwen, you know what? It's what he deserves. Gwen had this coworker. So Gwen's American. And so she had this coworker who was in Canada and telling Canadians, oh, like, you know, you guys are about to be our 51st state, 51st state, 51st state. And now look, he lost his passport. Well, listen, he should be happy it's just that, and that somebody didn't take it and bash him over the head with it. And, you know, with their other hand, bash him with like a freaking jar of maple syrup. We don't play, y'all. We don't play. Oh, exactly, you guys. STDs are dangerous. Get tested regularly and do not raw dog any and everybody you meet the way that Kail and Briana seem to enjoy doing. It's reckless behavior and it is dangerous behavior. Now, you guys, I do have two more stories that I wanted to share with you guys, but I do need to take a little bit of a break to sip some of my water, but I will give you a preview, okay? So there's a story. It's actually very, very sad. I was quite shocked when I read it this morning on TMZ, but there's a beauty pageant contestant and star named Kseniya Alexandrova from Russia who participated in Miss Universe. And she tragically passed away in her car. She and her husband were going for a drive when an animal just jumped out of nowhere, smashed through their windshield, and she passed away almost instantly from that. And then we're going to wrap up today's episode with the story about Kroy and Kim. So Wig Zolciak's ex-husband Kroy wants sole custody of the children, and he's accusing her of psychological abuse, amongst other things. He's saying that she's an extremely unfit parent. Things have gotten really, really ugly between these two. All that and more when we come back. We got a word from some of our sponsors, okay? If you're enjoying today's episode of The Morning Report, please don't forget to give a thumbs up so YouTube knows you enjoy my content. See you soon. The Morning Report is brought to you by Philo. Watch your favorite shows and movies from over 70 different channels, including MTV, TLC, WeTV, and more for only $28 a month. Get a free trial today by clicking the link in the description box of this video to get your free trial up and running. Tired of learning languages in boring, frustrating ways? Try TalkPal. TalkPal is your personal AI language tutor. It teaches you languages in fun, engaging ways. It gives you real-time feedback, assesses your pronunciation, and the learning process is personalized just for you. Join millions of other learners and start your language learning journey today. Gwen, this comment made me laugh so freaking hard. Trust and believe. So you guys, let's get into this very shocking, very tragic story that we've heard about a former Miss Universe contestant, okay? So once again, her name was Kseniya Alexandrova. She was Vice Miss Russia back in 2017, and she also participated in the Miss Universe pageant. So according to TMZ, she suffered a very tragic and horrific car accident in Russia when an elk came crashing through her windshield. So she was in the passenger seat of the car with her husband driving just last month when the elk suddenly ran onto the road and its body flew into the car, smashing right through the windshield and slamming directly into Kseniya's head. And she was knocked unconscious on impact. And then she slipped into a coma immediately after the crash. And the doctors are saying that that was due to catastrophic head injuries. And so she stayed in her coma until passing away just 3 days ago on August 15th. So may she rest in peace. It is just so freaky. I can't imagine. When I first read the story, the first thing I thought was, I wonder where they were going, right? Like, that's the thing about life. Like, you really do not know what's going to be your last moment, right? Like, more often than not anyway. But I was just imagining, like, maybe they were all dressed up and excited to go out to dinner. Maybe they were going to go celebrate something, you know, like just anything, right? Maybe they were going to go grocery shopping. Maybe they were going to the airport. I don't know. But imagine you're just in the car. You've got all these things you're planning to do later on that day, or maybe the next day, the next week, the next month, the next year, something. And an accident just so unlikely and so freakish such as this is what ends your life. I just truly cannot even just begin to comprehend that. It is so freaking sad. I still cannot just wrap my mind around just how shocking this whole story even is. Ronnie says, how sad. Same with Venetia. Amanda says, rest in peace. That's absolutely tragic. It really, really is. Honestly, you guys, you got to cherish every single moment you have in life because you really really do not know, like even if you're, eating as healthy as possible, even if you're staying as fit as possible, you really never know. It could be something as freaky as a random deer or elk or something. That puts an end to your life. Like it could be anything. So it's just appreciate any given moment, like every single minute is, pretty much borrowed time, so to speak, right? So you got to be grateful for it. May she rest in peace. Very sad story. Ronnie said, a friend took a cab to a doctor's office 4 hours away and they hit a deer and she's afraid to get in a car now. Oh my God. And I don't blame her. Like driving is actually so dangerous, right? Like so many things can happen in a car. And so there are so many people who are scared to even learn how to drive for this particular reason. Like they don't trust themselves. Like it's scary. All of it is just so freaking scary. Thankfully, people are safe more often than not, but the risks definitely are there. And I'm not surprised that your friend has PTSD from what happened to her. Laura says, may the lady that passed rest in peace. I read this last night and it was awful. It really, really was. And she was so young too, right? Absolutely devastating. Truly, truly, truly. I did see some of you guys' comments coming in again for the Briana story. So I'm going to go ahead and read that Briana story before we head into our final story of the day, which is about Wig Zolciak and Kroy Biermann fighting over the children right now. Okay. So these comments are coming in regards to the Briana story that we just covered. And in the Briana story, we were talking about how she's saying that Chris can get it again, because we already know he hit it that first time. Test 2.0 says, I'm blown away. I knew Briana was a pass around, but I didn't know she also went after Chris. Wow, that's absolutely disgusting. She's super creepy for that. The creepy made me laugh, Tess. But it's true. Yeah. Bri is proud of being obsessed with whoever's, been with Kail. And it's just such a bad look. Honestly, I like their little rivalry or their beef or whatever that they have. But I think that this makes Bri look absolutely terrible and a low-key stalker of Kail's. So I really hope that she gives up the act soon, because it's funny. It wasn't even funny the first time, because she was messing around with Kail's ex-husband and then she brought the kids into it. That was really freaking weird, yeah, honestly. Listen, Bri, do better, boo. We want to like you. Do we want to like her again? Actually, I'm not sure. I think that's a lie. I'm not sure I really want to like her again, because the way that she and her mother acted on Teen Mom Family Reunion towards Ashley and Ashley's mother was really disgusting to me, to be honest with you. So I don't know if I want to like her again, to be honest. Laura says the same thing about Bri kind of being a pass around. Oh, poor Bri. It's our storyline. That and STDs and pregnancy. Damn, y'all are brutal today. Absolutely brutal. Jesus. Ramster says, Briana, I remember her first 2 episodes. She hasn't changed. No growth, no lessons learned, just being this childish, mean girl, then victim. Musty. Not musty. Musty girl. But you know what? I will tell you, that's one thing about Bri. She always seems so musty to me as well. Anyway, I'll keep you posted. Chris is still crashing out over Kail over on Instagram. So don't be surprised if he responds. And this is probably the best way he knows to get under Kail's skin. So he might go, have Bri fly him to Florida, or maybe, Bri will go to Delaware. They will probably smash. Maybe they'll put it on OnlyFans, or maybe it'll leak, or maybe it's going to be like the Shannon Sharp. Do you remember how Shannon Sharp had this he accidentally went live on Instagram when he was boning a woman, right? There were all these rumors about Shannon Sharp and his sexuality and whatnot. And so conveniently, and y'all, if you've ever gone live on Instagram, it's not something that happens with a click of one button, right? You have to press a button, then you have to put a title for the live, then you have to confirm that you want to go live. He's claiming all that happened accidentally while he was boning a woman. Okay, right? So don't be surprised if something like that happens here, where these two, they hook up and they want to make sure that we know about it, because they were subtle the first time, right? The t-shirt, the thigh touching, all that stuff. But I think if they were to do it again, they would be a lot more explicit about it. Pun intended. Now, you guys, let's get into Wig Zolciak and what's going on with her family, you guys. That divorce, I think they're finally officially divorced, at least. But now Kroy is asking for emergency sole custody of their children, according to TMZ. So it says in the filing that the two of them have 2 children at all times with a 1-week, 1-off schedule, which is odd, because if you look at this photo, you see 4 underage children, right? For children. So how is it that they only have 2 kids at a time, 1 week, 1 week off? To me, it means that they've separated these four, which I think is actually very sad. Can I ask you guys, if you've been through a divorce or if you've got young children, like, and, you know, hypothetically something were to happen to your relationship, would you agree to splitting them up? Like, oh, I get these two this week, you get the other two that week, and then we switch, and then the kids just don't really see each other and like build that sibling bond? Like, that's very strange to me. That really, truly jumped out to me. Okay. And so he also said in court documents that Kim, quote, frequently leaves the children alone or under the care of others for significant periods of time, leaving them without proper parental guidance. And he's also accusing Wig of being both, quote, unstable and unfit as a custodial parent. And he says that the children must immediately be placed in his primary care because Wig has allegedly subjected the children to, quote, emotional and psychological abuse. He says that Wig lacks any ability to provide for the day-to-day care of the children, and she shows next to no familiarity with the children's needs as well. So, you know, Kim and her representatives are also clapping back. They're saying that Kroy's allegations are false, right? And this is what their exact statement reads. Kim has always been and continues to be a devoted, loving, and attentive mother who puts her children's needs above everything else. She has been the primary emotional anchor for her children through this difficult time, ensuring they have a stable home, healthy routines, and unconditional love. Kim has consistently been engaged in their schooling, activities, and therapy, working tirelessly to support their mental health and well-being. So I want to know whose side you guys are on in regards to this dispute over the custody of the children, Wig or Kroy. And, you know, I gotta say, the way that the Housewives of Atlanta girlies gave Kim the Wig nickname as if they didn't all wear wigs is just so hilarious to me. But somehow it has stuck. Like, I think that it's stuck. It's absolutely hilarious. So let me go ahead and see what y'all have to say. Oh, we got Theo in the house. Hey, Theo. Theo says Shannon is such a gross old creep. He sure is. And thank God he had to pay that woman big money. He tried so hard to shame her and to make her like run hiding right after her lawsuit. But guess what? She was telling the truth. And that creep had to pay up big time. Absolute big time. Right? Hey, Michelle, nice to see you, boo. Happy Monday. Let's see. We've got Susie, part of the Playback Posse. Hey, Susie. Bree says Kim needs a rehab. That one daughter was crying. She took her money. Yeah, that story still makes me so freaking sad. You know, Kim is a nurse, right? Is her license still up to date? Like, she can go back and practice as a nurse in addition to like these sponsorships and whatnot. So why is she not doing everything she can to provide for her children without having to lean on one of them? Why is she buying like $1,000 or $500 bottles of wine? Why is she still allegedly gambling online? Like, she's making very, very poor financial decisions. And unfortunately, her children are left to pick up the pieces and pay for it. Like, you know, Brielle should be saving that money for her future. But unfortunately, she has to give money to her mother. Like, her mother is her stay-at-home wife or something. Gwen says, now I prefer the house be the kids. And I like that. And the parents can rotate if they can get along or rent both sides of a townhouse or something. And this is a storyline that we've seen play out in the last season of The Real Housewives of Potomac. That is something that Stacey and her ex-husband are doing with her daughter, Arabella. Stacey has her condo, and then, you know, from time to time, she'll pop back in the house. And so that's a really, really, you know, cool strategy. Laura says separating children isn't right, and I'd never agree with it. And I agree. Do you guys watch The Shaws of Sunset, which, by the way, is coming back? So there's a guy named Nima, and he had a sister named Mona Vand. And so when their parents divorced, each parent took one child. And so they didn't have a sibling bond because that's how it was. It was like, you get this one, I get the other one, right? And so now as adults, they are left trying to have this relationship and this bond together. And so they have some sort of a relationship and bond, right? They seem pretty close, but it's just not the same way as a regular sibling thing would be because they didn't grow up together like that. And it seems so freaking sad. And exactly, Michelle, she's very irresponsible and she doesn't seem to want to take responsibility for the way that she's been pissing away the family money, designer, everything, all this alcohol, all this alleged gambling. Like, enough is enough, wig. Theo says, I'm on the side of Kim and Kroy are both crazy, and I do agree. And speaking of that, I did have an earlier comment from Becky D where Becky said Kroy had no idea what he was getting into. He seems like a nice guy. He got in too deep real fast. And that's the thing. Kroy was very young when he got with Kim. Wasn't he like in his 20s? Like, listen, he looked kind of like old for his age, right? So it's hard to remember that he was that young, but he was only in his 20s. Correct me if I'm wrong. When he met Kim, who already, came with, 2 kids, an ex-husband, and a sugar daddy. Like, it was a lot. And then, like, within 6 months, he knocked her up, and then boom, back to back to back to back children right afterwards. Gwen says, my parents briefly lived on the same street, and I loved it. My mom hated it, though. Only lasted like 6 months. Well, you know what? She probably saw the comings and goings, or maybe, your dad probably saw, the comings and goings for her, like if they were dating other people or anything like that, or even just like socially friends. So it was probably like for them, like, oh, a little bit too much of my business, right? Like somebody on the, maybe like one of them likes sitting on the porch, and, maybe one of them likes going for walks, and it's like, oh God, every time I'm going for a walk, I have to pass by this damn porch or something like that. I don't know. And I agree, Ronnie. It's also sad. These children have gone through so much with these, chaotic parents. They really, really have. Laura says it allows them to miss so many times and so much learning they'd be able to do whilst together. It's wrong to separate those poor babies. I know they're not babies, but you get it. No, and I completely, completely agree. I really hope that they're able to keep those children together, because separating them, it just seems very cruel, in my opinion, especially if they've already grown up together for so long, right? Hey, Empress. Good morning, sunshine. Nice to see you. OMG says, can you imagine Kim's your nurse? Can you imagine? She comes in with like a thing of Newport, red Solo cup full of booze. And then she says that she's going to, like, I don't know, like draw your blood or something like that. Girl, please. Can you even spell blood under these conditions? Good morning, Jaleesa. How are you, boo? I sent you a recommendation for this book, this book club kind of cafe, by the way. I hope you like it. Trip says, probably thinks the kids owe her for the life of luxury. Yes, that's the thing. Kids, a lot of parents are like that with their children. They really feel like their children owe them something. It's like, I gave you a nice call. Who told you to have a kid and give it a good quality of life? You did. Nobody asked you for anything. Yeah, it really feels like that is her mentality. And she actually called her daughter, who's been financing her for years, a liar on Watch What Happens Live. She's like, no, like, I don't even ask for that much. And like, if I do, it's for like paying like a bill here or there. Girl, anyway. Ramsey says, gambling is a serious addiction, often overlooked, but it's just a game. And exactly, she needs to get help for that, if that really is what she's suffering from. Like, it is dangerous, dangerous stuff. Even when you go to like Vegas, I've been to Vegas twice, and you see like those, like, and it's typically old people, like with this, like, big gulp size cup, and they're just like playing the slots like robots or something. Like, it is just, it's sad. It is really, really sad, right? Tess says, Shannon Sharp's accuser announcing on IG she was retiring from OnlyFans after the, peak petty, he deserved it. And then afterwards, she started sharing Bible verses. I'd be thanking God too, boo. Oh my goodness gracious. And people say that he didn't even make that much money while he was in the league. Like, they're saying, and it's unconfirmed, right? They're saying he had to pay her $23 million. And, it's also been reported that in all his time in the league, taking those hits and everything, risking CTE, he wasn't paid $23 million total. A lot of his money comes from the podcast. They come from him being a sports commentator and whatnot. So the fact that he retired this woman, hasn't even retired his own children, hasn't retired his own parents, hasn't retired himself, that's crazy. Absolutely. You know what? He deserves it. I am so sick and tired of these creepy old men, just being weird to young girls. Leave those teenagers alone. She was like in her teens when he started messing with her, and he was like 50 something. Like, take him for everything he's worth. And yes, Kim was on and off with Big Papa around the time that she met Kroy. So yeah, like, she came with an awful lot, but I still don't understand what his problem was to get with this woman. Like, it makes you wonder about him too. He was young. He was in the NFL. Like, what was wrong with him psychologically speaking? Gwen says, my mom had an affair. Oh, she was living with a coworker she cheated with. Oh, damn, Gwen. I wasn't expecting all that. Sorry to hear. Is she still with the coworker? Damn. So maybe that's why she did. Yeah, that's probably why she didn't want to, like, maybe I would feel like mortified too if that was something that happened, and then my ex still lives there, on the same street as me, and like, my affair partner or something. Damn, I was not expecting that, Gwen. Damn, damn, damn. This says Kim Z would be like Daryl Hannah as the nurse in Kill Bill. Oh my God. Would you believe I haven't seen Kill Bill? Listen, y'all, I need on the list of all these things that I need to watch. I know it's iconic. I know the movie poster with the yellow jumpsuit, but I've never seen it, y'all. I've never seen it. Gwen says that's hilarious, though. And exactly, we need for her to give the exact details. It's a lot of freaking money, but she's downplaying it because she's embarrassed and she's in deep denial about everything she has a problem with, from the alleged alcohol problem to the alleged gambling problem to the alleged shopping addiction. Becky says, we've never seen Kim parent her kids, but we all saw Kroy parent his kids and her girls that he took in and loved as his own. Exactly. I really do believe that Kroy is a responsible father and that he is the primary parent to those children. So to me, it does make sense that he gets sole custody. However, I do worry that his petition will be rejected. I think for judges to award a parent sole custody over the other, like a lot of like bad ish needs to happen behind the scenes. No offense to him, but especially if it's a man, right? So, but you know what? I did also hear, and I don't know if this is just incel talking points or not. Y'all could let me know if I'm wrong. However, I did hear that because so few men ask for sole custody or primary custody or whatever, the ones that do ask for it, they do tend to typically get it. So if that's the case, perhaps that's something that can help Kroy out in this particular situation. Y'all let me know what you think about that, okay? Good luck to you, Kroy. But again, like, this girl was a mess when you found her, with her solo cup, with her, you know, with her whatever you call these other things. Like, she was a freaking mess, right? Hang on. Gwen's coming back with some tea. Carly says the feminine rage in Kill Bill is so good. You have to see it. Really, girl? All right, girl. Listen, let me add it to my list. I'm supposed to see West Side Story too, maybe not next weekend, but the weekend after. There's so many things I need to watch. Hang on. Movies. I keep a note on my notes apps of things I need to watch. And you know, there's this, what is that, Gone Girl? I'm supposed to be watching Gone Girl at a certain point too. I didn't get to watch that. So I'm excited to watch this. Thanks, you guys. Y'all, I'm so excited. Like, I actually kind of feel lucky that I haven't seen these classics, because it means I get to watch them for like the first time. You know what I mean? So that's really, really exciting. Let me see. Is that, guys, that was our final story of the day. Oh, wait, Gwen was sharing some tea. That's what I wanted. So we're done with our stories for today's episode of the show. However, Gwen is spilling some tea on her mama. She says, so you know how they say you lose them, how you get them? Oh, he ditched my mom in 2020 and ran off with one of the women he was cheating with. Went to a different state for about a year. Whew. Did they have children together before he did this to your mom? And how do you feel about it? Because, you know, of course, like on a certain side, you know, you're probably like, yes, justice for my dad, you know, because your mom cheated on your dad. But at the same time, maybe you're like, oh man, my poor mom, you know, I don't know. How does this play out for you as, you know, as a child and all of this? This feels like so freaking sad. I didn't know Gone Girl had a book. Okay. How about that? Hang on. I didn't Kill Bill here on my list, by the way. Bill. I haven't watched The Bodyguard either, that Whitney Houston movie. I need to watch that. And I'm supposed to be watching Gladiator 1. So it's West Side Story, Bodyguard, Gladiator 1, Gone Girl, Kill Bill that I'm supposed to be watching over the next few months. Look at you, Theo. You got everybody on here about Kill Bill. Who was just saying that about the Kill Bill? Hang on. Becky was saying it. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Really? Oh my. And I remember when this came out, I think I was in the 6th grade or something like that. Wow. Okay, y'all. I'm going to be watching it. Gwen says there's a lot more mess, but honestly, my parents were always at least a little messed up. I'm sorry. I had my friends' parents to be there for me. And I'm really happy that your friends' parents were able to step in. You know, that is one thing I will say. When you hear about these stories of chaotic home lives, it's so sad for the children involved. But then when you hear about like the friends' parents or the boyfriends and girlfriends' parents who picked them up and were there, you know, to really help them and whatnot, like it just, you know, it's really beautiful. And that's something that really touched me in Kail's book as well, was how her friends' parents were there to feed her and to, you know, listen to her and this and that and to pick her up and to encourage her. So shout out to those of you who step in and help out, you know, kids from very troublesome homes. Hey, East Awesome. Gone Girl is really good. Good, really? Oh my God, y'all. Okay, guys, listen. I'm so freaking excited. You know what? I think I might even watch Gone Girl tonight. I'm gonna go to the grocery store and buy that popcorn I like. There's this popcorn I like. It tastes just like the movie theater, and it comes in this like clear bag with red and white stripes. So good. Thank you guys. I'm so freaking excited. Carla says Kill Bill has 2 volumes, so also 1 and 2. Really? Okay, not the sequel. All right, girl. All right. I love this. Thank you. Listen, Laura, since you're asking what websites you can use, I will tell you guys, there's this website that I really like to use to watch anything. You can watch any reality show. You can watch movies. What is it called? It's called Stream with 2 M's, the number 4, the letter U, .com.co. So what I'm going to do is going to take it and paste it in the live chat before I head out here. I have to do some recaps of some shows. I finally finished watching The Perfect Match, actually. So I'm going to recap the entire season in one episode as well. So I'm going to get into that. And then I have to do my 90 Day Fiancé recaps for you guys as well. So I'm really looking forward to this. So here you go. This is the website, Laura, and anybody else looking for a good website to watch movies and TV shows, and it won't give you viruses or all these like weird pop-ups and whatnot. Okay, so hopefully, yeah, there it is. That's the website. Okay, you guys. And Becky says, if you watch Gone Girl, you can catch a glimpse of Ben Affleck's peen in the shower. Well, damn. I really like Ben Affleck as an actor, but I don't think he's attractive personally. Oh, Trip says, my dad was also a cheat. I clap internally every time he gets some karma. Damn. Oh my God. Y'all are really spilling it all. Listen, I'm sorry that you guys as parents blew up, your family lives. It's not okay, but I'm happy that you guys, are able to make peace with it and find, some kind of like humor in some of, the situations. Gwen says, thankfully he has no children at all. And my kid doesn't remember him at all. He's in a long-term care now. Oh, wow. Really? So it all worked out. All right. Damn. What a story. What a story. Well, you know what, Gwen, thank you for opening up and sharing that with us. Oh my God. Like I was not expecting that at all. Truly, truly at all. Wow. Lord have mercy. Oh my God. Allie's got a dad cheating story as well. My dad cheated with a Camilla lookalike. Oh God. Camilla lookalike. Really? Lord have mercy. I'm sorry, Allie. I'm sorry, you guys. Like, parents can be trifling too. Sometimes at the end of the day, you got to remember they're just people like anybody else. They're just people like anybody else. They can make the same mistakes as anybody else without kids. And, it kind of sucks, when kids are swept into that stuff. Like, Jesus. Ooh. Yes, Laura, let us know what you think, okay? I'll be watching this stuff, and I will tell you guys too. So I'm going to watch Gone Girl. Actually, wait, I have to do the Kill Bill first. Allie says, I have to wake up next to a horse face. Having to wake up next to a horse face is karma enough. Damn, y'all are killing me. I love it. Y'all, listen, I am melting. I think it is 37 degrees again here. There is no AC per usual. So I have to go take a nice cold shower, go to the store, buy my special popcorn. Yeah, recap my shows. And then later watch Kill Bill. Thank you, Theo. And thank you guys for encouraging me to watch that and Gone Girl. Really looking forward to all this. If you enjoyed today's episode of The Morning Report, please don't hesitate to leave a like so YouTube knows you enjoy my content. Once again, I think I will not be recording The Morning Report from Monday through Wednesday next week, perhaps even longer. I'll keep you updated on that, okay? But I will be seeing you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to talk about the day's hottest stories. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.